Okay, so this video is actually on time value of money. So this is the first topic in corporate finance. So time value of money, most of the time it's abbreviated as TVM. Yeah, so this topic is very similar to the math of finance that you had covered in BS 140. Yeah, that's a math of finance. So now it's just sort of a different approach is taken in terms of how we write down our calculations and the like. So let's go straight into it. So for example, those days when we are calculating compound interest, right? We would have to write this expression. Sorry. We would say the principal payment rate multiplied by 1 plus the interest rate to the power n, or some books would say to the power t. It depends. The same thing is the same meaning. Yeah, that's how we used to write them. So now in corporate finance, the same expression, but it will be written in what? In a different way. So usually when we are compounding something, most of the time we will have two tenses. Either we're compounding to the future, or we're compounding back to the present, right? So we also deal with those same tenses even in corporate finance. So let's say, for example, we are compounding into the future. This would have been the formula we would have used. This same one I've underlined, the same one earlier written. So for compounding in the future, we would write it just like that as of math of finance. So now what about in this corporate finance course? How do we express a future value compound interest? So you would say this, you would put PV. We've seen what the P is. We replace it with what? PV, which is present value. It's just an abbreviation. The present value, the money you're depositing now, or the principal payment, open brackets, you would write, since we're going to the future, right? You would write this FVIF. In the brackets, I'll explain what this means. FVIF. Then you put a comma R, comma T. Then you close those brackets. What do these things in the brackets represent? They actually just represent that 1 plus r that you used to use. The 1 plus r, the power t or n. That's what this means, the FVIF. So this FVIF is actually a table. You collect it from the table, actually, this FVIF. It means future value interest factor. Yeah, so that thing which we always used to put in the brackets as 1 plus r those days in math of finance, it is actually an interest factor. That's what it's called. That's why we express it like this in corporate finance. And you have to just go and locate it on a table and substitute. In this same bracket, since you have picked this FVIF, and then you multiply with your principal payment and you're done. So let me just show you now how you work with that table, because that's another way, that's another thing you need to know, because now we do not use the one with brackets, we now work with the table. So for example, look at this example. We have this table here and there. You have years. Usually they would say periods. So let me be accurate. As they would put it, they would say periods. After periods, here they would also put the rates. The rates are usually in this line. So the periods, what's going to happen is that the periods would appear in this column 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? Then you will have some interest rates as well. The rates will be here. Let me just rub this part. The rates will be on top, like 1%, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%. They even go as far as 50. Yeah, 50%. And even these periods can also go as far as what? 50 periods. So these periods, it's like when someone says 1 year, it's equivalent to like 1 period. That's how we interpret this table. Yeah, don't always mix up. What does 1 period mean? This 1 period is just equivalent to 1 year. So imagine the question was compound this into the future value interest for 4 years. So you have your table. They've told you 4 years at an interest rate of 3%. How do you get there? That one which is the brackets, the FVIF. What you just do is you go to where 3%, right? You draw a line, and then you also draw a line where on 4 where they are meeting. That's the figure. I don't know if this makes sense. Where these two lines are meeting, that figure which you find there, which is like corresponding with both the 4th year and the 3% rate, that is the interest factor you're looking for. And you just go and substitute it here in that same formula we wrote earlier. So we said PV, then we said FVIF, the rates, comma time. So your PV maybe can be your principal payment, maybe let's say it's 100, right? Then maybe you found what you've now picked, that part where the two lines are meeting, maybe it gave you a figure like 0.77. Then you just multiply and you found your compound interest. That's how it works. That's how we interpret things from that table. That's it. Yeah, so given its future value, what we put in the brackets will be what? FVIF. Just remember that. If we are going when in the past, so we can actually come back now in the present. We were talking about the future. Now we can come back also to the present. So usually in that case, you'd be given a future amount most of the time, so that you bring it back when today. So usually how we express such is that you would say you've been given a future value FV, open brackets, you now put PVIF. So remember, we're still talking about compound interest. This one here, the 1 plus R, the power n, we're still talking about it. It says in corporate finance, it comes as this other figure writing in brackets, the other word PVIF or FVIF, depending on the tense. So if it was in the old compound interest that you learned and they told you present value of compound interest, this is how you would have written it. The principal payment, like this one I'm writing on the right hand side of the screen, principal payment over 1 plus R, the power n. This is how we write present value of compound interest. Or you've noticed sometimes we used to do this, raise the power negative n. These two things which I've written, the fractional one and this one which is raised to negative power, they all represent present value of compound interest. So if it's in corporate finance, follow the one on top, the one which says FV, open brackets, PVIF. Why PV? Because it's present value the question is talking about. If you see FVIF, meaning its future value interest factor. So those are just the tips. I hope this small intro to corporate finance will guide you somewhere and hopefully to make some sense as it goes.